Hi everybody, Penny here. Welcome to my kitchen. I have Caitlin here helping me today, and we are going to be making chicken and dumpling soup. Now that's something that's very popular in the southern states, but I've never made it. And this is a relatively easy one to make from what I can tell from the recipe. So I've got a couple of tablespoons of olive oil and a couple of tablespoons of butter. And we're just going to melt that. Going to turn this down a smidgen because this is an induction stove top and it tends to get very hot very fast. So what I've got here is 1 large onion, 2 large stalks of celery all cut up, and about 3 to 4 carrots, about 1.5 cups of carrots or so. So we're going to saute that for just a few minutes to get the onions and the celery, develop a little bit of flavor. Go. Now, Caitlin, if you could look after that. So what the recipe calls for you to do is to take a small chicken, put it in a stock pot, and boil it and make your broth or your stock. What I like to do, however, is buy a rotisserie chicken or bake a chicken off myself. And that way, most of the fat and so on is already rendered out of the chicken. Then I take all the meat off the chicken, which I've done, and then I take the bones and either put it in a stock pot with 8 to 10 cups of water, enough to cover all of the bones and so on, and you boil that then for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Now you can add other flavorings to your stock. You could add a carrot chopped up, roughly, big pieces, celery stalk, big pieces chopped up, an onion cut in half or quartered, a couple of bay leaves, some peppercorns, salt and pepper, and then this particular recipe also called for me to add 3 whole cloves of clove. Not sure how to say that properly, but not ground cloves, whole cloves. So that's what I did. You can't really tell that there's cloves in there, but there's a different taste, and it's quite nice. I've never done that before. But what I did, instead of putting it on the stove, was yesterday, because I did this part yesterday, I put it in my pressure cooker, but if you have an Instant Pot or an on-the-stove pressure cooker, for 30 minutes. Once it came up to pressure, it was 30 minutes. So I have my stock, I have my chicken, we have our carrots and our potatoes and our celery. We also have about 1 cup of frozen peas. Now the recipe also calls for potatoes. I don't particularly like potatoes in my soup, but if you want to put a couple of potatoes chopped up in there, go for it. How we doing there, Caitlin? Good? Don't forget the sides. That's a girl. You could also add any other vegetable that you like in your soups, in your chicken soup. I know back in Newfoundland, turnip is very popular. I've also seen okra, if you like okra. Not particularly one of my favorite vegetables, but you could. That's a very southern United States vegetable. You could also add chopped up zucchini, parsnip, whatever you like in your chicken soup. Now I'm saying that this is a relatively easy soup because we also use 1 can of cream of chicken soup and 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. So that adds a nice thickness to the soup. How are we doing? Yeah, the onions are just starting to soften a little bit there now. So you do this for like 5, maybe 10 minutes. You're not looking to color anything, you're just looking to soften it. Just soften the vegetables. I'm just going to grab a little bit of salt and we'll put a touch of salt in there. There we go. Excuse me, Caitlin. Just a little bit. Not very much, because I've already salted the broth, and of course there's going to be salt in the soups. And the recipe calls for 6 of these cubes of chicken stock. I'm only going to put in 1. I don't normally use these little bouillon cubes in my soups because when you make your own broth, you've already got a lovely tasting broth. However, I'll put 1 in and we'll taste it and we'll see. So while those are still softening, If you don't have a chicken that you want to boil up and make a stock, or a pre-cooked chicken or a rotisserie chicken that you want to take the meat off and then do your stock that way, you could get 2 containers of good quality chicken cartons, which is roughly 4 cups in a carton of chicken broth, and then just take a couple of chicken breasts, you know, and cook them in the stock as the soup is cooking, and then when you take them out, you can chop them up and throw them back in. So that's, you know, a couple of different alternatives for whatever you're the most comfortable with. Okay, that looks awesome. So now we are going to add in, excuse me, Caitlin, our cream of chicken soup. There we go. And our cream of mushroom soup. Hang on, you can stir this up now in a second. There you go. If you could stir that up for me. There we are. Put these aside. And we're going to add our chicken broth. Excuse me, Caitlin. Yay! Oh my, that looks good already. Ooh. So we're going to wait for that to come up to a nice simmer. Then we're going to add our green peas, our 1 cube of chicken bouillon, and our chicken. Then we are going to let it simmer for about a half an hour, 45 minutes, until the carrots are nice and tender. And then we'll be back. Good job. Okay, you want to put the peas in? Yeah. Down a little bit lower so they don't splash. There you go. You missed one? Okay, I'm going to put the chicken in. But point it that way. No, not by spoonfuls. It'll take a long time. Watch. You point it this way, so if it splashes away from you. Like that. Right? Now I'm going to put this oxo cube in here. And that'll start to melt. Now you stir it up. Okay, so it's been about 45 minutes and our soup is looking really good. I did taste it. It did need a little bit of salt, and I added a little bit of pepper. But of course, you adjust it to your liking, and it looks really good. So now we're going to make the dumplings. Now these, for people on the East Coast, these are different from doughboys. Doughboys that we typically put in our pea soup are heavier and not fluffy, but still delicious. These will be more fluffy, but they're kind of done in a similar way. So we're going to mix together the dumplings, we're going to put them in the soup, we're going to cover with a heavy lid, and we're going to leave it for 18 to 20 minutes. And don't lift up your lid. I'm not sure why, but you never lift up the lid until your 18 to 20 minutes is gone. So in our bowl of dry ingredients, I have 2 cups of flour, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, a good pinch of pepper. So Caitlin whisked all that up for me. So now we're going to make a little well in the middle. Now you want to beat up the egg? So we're going to have roughly 2 tablespoons of melted butter. It's not a lot of butter, but it just gives a little taste. So for example, in a doughboy, you probably would not have very much baking powder. 4 teaspoons of baking powder is quite a bit. Okay, let's show everybody what happened. Okay, so we have a Japanese student who's living with us, and she likes boiled eggs. So I asked Caitlin to get me an egg out of the fridge.
Okay,
So she did. She got an egg. Shh. Well, she got the boiled egg out of the fridge.
There!
Yes, that's the right egg. Which brings me to the story of the first time that Caitlin ever made herself an egg sandwich.
Yeah.
So normally she can make her own egg sandwich, and I'll boil it, and she'll take the shell off, and she'll mash it up, put mayonnaise in it, and blah blah blah, you know, to make an egg sandwich. So the morning that I said to her, "Hey, you're old enough to make your own lunch. Here, Caitlin, get another bowl. Or here, use this one." So she got up in the morning, and as Barry was coming into the kitchen, she cracked open an egg, a raw egg, had her 2 slices of bread and on the cutting board, and she cracked it open, and she put it on the bread and kind of went, "Well, that doesn't look right." So she took that raw egg all across the kitchen into the garbage. She got 2 more slices of bread and got another egg and did the same thing. And then Barry was like, wait. So anyway, I hope that gave you a little bit of joy today. Okay, Miss Caitlin. Here, thank you very much. Oh dear. Okay. So we're gonna put our egg in with our butter. Here you go. And I'm gonna add, this is 3/4 of a cup of milk. I'm gonna add roughly half of it. And then I'm gonna start to mix. And you only wanna add enough milk to make a stiff dough. So it may take the whole 3/4 of a cup, and it may take a little more or a little less. Depends on the size of your egg and so on and so forth. But yeah, we're gonna need, see, it's still too floury. We're gonna need a little more milk. So I'll put in the rest of the milk, and then we'll give that a bit of a stir. And I think we're just gonna need another little drop, not very much, not even 1/4 of a cup. There we go. So can you see how that's stiff, but not like a cookie batter or a cake batter? Okay. Sorry, should have used a glass bowl. So then we're going to take, you could use 2 spoons, you don't have to have a scooper, but we're going to take our smallest scooper. And if you have bigger scooper or bigger dumplings, it will take a little longer to cook. So just keep that in mind. But this recipe calls for a teaspoon. Each dumpling will be a teaspoon, which is not very big. So we're just going to drop these in here, and then we're going to put the cover on for 20 minutes, and then we'll be back. Okay, so our 20 minutes is up. When you open your lid, make sure you open it away from you so you don't end up giving yourself a very painful steam facial. Oh, look at that. So we're going to turn that off, and look at all those dumplings. Oh my goodness. Now this makes your soup even a little thicker because the dumplings will absorb some of the liquid. We've got chicken, we've got dumplings. Oh my goodness gracious. Give that a taste. That is perfect. And that's what's for supper tonight. I hope you give it a go. Enjoy. Bye.